What's up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the numbers. This is my betting breakdown video for UFC Vegas 19. We have Curtis Blaydes versus Derrick Lewis, and we have a really good card. We have a 14-fight card. It was supposed to be 15 fights. We did lose the Sabatini and Alves fight, which sucks because I did have a bet on that fight, but that fight scrapped. So now down to 5 bets for me personally. Going to be talking about all of those 5 bets, talking some leans. I'm breaking down this card strictly from a betting perspective and a betting perspective only. Not going to go into much detail on the breakdowns. If you do want a more in-depth breakdown on why I like a certain fighter or a certain bet, I did post a full card breakdown and prediction video earlier in the week, and then I did do a live stream as well, going into a ton of detail, talking some weigh-ins, giving my final thoughts on the card as a whole. So, with that said, going to get into it. Before we do, if you can leave a like on the video, one small like goes a long way. Also, subscribe if you are not subscribed already. Really trying to reach that 10K goal, hopefully by March 6th, which would be the UFC 259, which is a great card. So it would be nice to get there by then. I think we're like less than 300 away, so getting really close. So if you do enjoy my content, please hit the subscribe button. It really does mean a lot. But yeah, with that said, we're going to get into it. And we're gonna start with the first fight of the night. So I will be posting my bets on Twitter, DFS_numbers, Instagram, DFS by the numbers. I have 5 right now. I may or may not add more. So just go check that out. So Sergey Spivak versus Jared Vanderaa, and Spivak is somebody I liked all week. I've been eyeing him all week, and then after seeing the weigh-ins, after seeing how phenomenal shape he was in, seeing Vanderaa not look in the best shape himself, I like Spivak even more here. So Spivak is somebody that's going to have a really big speed advantage in this fight. Watching tape on Vanderaa, the dude's so slow. Spivak, a very well-rounded fighter. His striking's really coming along. Has a really good wrestling game as well, and it's just Vanderaa. Outside of him getting on top of Spivak, he has some really good ground and pound. It's just easier said than done. I don't really see him taking down Spivak. If anything, I see Spivak getting the takedowns himself. But the best path to victory for Spivak is just keeping this on the feet, using that speed advantage, and just piecing up Vanderaa for a round and a half, 2 rounds until probably it's a late finish. I don't know if Vanderaa has the gas tank to, really have a fast-paced fight that Spivak's going to bring. Not like a crazy pace, but he's going to bring a decent pace. He throws with decent volume, especially for the heavyweight division. And I see Spivak probably ending this late in the fight. So some interesting things to point out. A lot of people think that this fight, goes the distance, and that's I'm kind of with you, kind of not. It's just, look at the finish rates. 90% for Spivak, 91% for Vanderaa. I believe in their 28 fights, they have it combined. I want to say 2 decision wins in 28 fights. So these guys are definitely finishers. They have been finished themselves. Vanderaa has been subbed 2 times, never been knocked out. Spivak has been knocked out before. So I wouldn't be shocked, actually, if there's a finish. And kind of surprised that, since this is heavyweights, the under 2.5, for 1, it's set at 2.5. And for 2, it's plus money. So I'm really taking a hard look at the under 2.5 rounds because, both guys have 90% finish rates. They're heavyweights. And we usually don't get heavyweight fights set at that 2.5 round mark. So I just thought that was weird. And it is plus money. So I might be looking at that. Not an official play yet, but I am looking hard at that. I do have Sergey Spivak in a parlay. I have him parlayed with somebody that we'll talk about in a little bit, so he is the first leg for that. Like I said, I like the matchup. I think he has multiple advantages with the cardio, with the speed, with the volume, so give me Sergey Spivak there in that parlay. We'll talk about the other leg in a second. Next, we have Draco Rodriguez versus Ayman Zahabi. Don't really want to get into this too much. No action on it for me. Rodriguez came in 5 pounds overweight. It could help him. It could not. He just didn't look, all that great to me at the weigh-ins. I thought maybe he did have some trouble cutting weight and stuff. So definitely a red flag there. And another red flag is the dude's, really unproven, 24 years old. Minus 185. I just don't like that line. I'm just going to take the dog here. I'm one of the only people taking a shot on Zahabi. Definitely not betting it, though. Kind of a lower level fight. 2 guys that are very unproven. But I'm going to side with the dog in what should possibly be a really close fight. Jamal Emers versus Chazz Kelly. I like Emers here, but I don't like the price, minus 240. Chazz Kelly looked very good at weigh-ins. He's somebody that's dangerous, but he's dangerous early. He does slow down. Emers is going to have a massive striking advantage, a massive speed advantage. That's why he's probably around this minus 240. But I do have some concerns if Chazz Kelly is able to get him down and work his ground game, because Kelly does have a really good ground game. So that's my only concern there. If you're on the Skelly side, I think submission prop plus 640 is the way to go. I don't see him winning by knockout, obviously, and more than likely doesn't win a decision. So Skelly by submission plus 640 is not a bad look if you're on the Skelly side. As for Emers, I thought about it maybe as a parlay piece, but the ground game of Skelly definitely does give me pause, and the line probably is a little bit too wide here. So gonna pass, but I do like Emers here. Casey O'Neill versus Shanna Dobson. I like O'Neill. I would never in a million years bet this fight. I mean, if O'Neill was an underdog, I'd maybe take a look just because it's such a great stylistic matchup for her. Shanna Dobson is somebody with a 0% takedown defense. That means every time somebody's tried to take her down, they were successful in doing so in like 4 or 5 fights. She's defended 0 out of 8 takedowns. So O'Neill, what she does, pretty solid. Pretty solid wrestler, pretty solid grappler. Has not faced anybody at all. She's 5-0. Low-level fight is something I really don't want to get involved in. Dobson, low-level herself, 4-4, which is crazy that, these fighters are fighting on this card in the UFC, but it is what it is. People's main event. I'm going to sit back and watch. Should be somewhat interesting. I'm really interested to see how O'Neill comes out here and see if she can take down Dobson, or see if Dobson can stuff her very first takedown. That's going to be interesting as well. But, yeah, big pass here. Probably one of the biggest passes on the card, but I am going to take Casey O'Neill. Nate Landwehr versus Juliana Rosa. I like Landwehr. I think this is going to be a war. Both guys have no problem standing in the middle and banging. Both guys throw a ton of volume. Both guys are very hittable. I'm going to side with the more durable guy, Nate Landwehr. I know he's been knocked out once, but Rosa's been knocked out like 4 times. So I'm going to take the more durable guy in a war. I think someone probably gets finished, and I think the guy that gets finished more than likely is going to be Juliana Rosa. Some props that are interesting. I think the under 2.5 is not an awful look. I think Landwehr definitely has knockout potential here. And Rosa is actually a pretty solid finisher, finishing nearly 80% of his wins. So I think the under's a decent look, especially in the small cage. And I think the under's like close to plus money. I think it's like minus 105, minus 110. So not an awful look, but I'm going to pass here. Even the money line on Landwehr is something that's not awful, but I'm just going to pass on this fight as a whole. I think it's going to be really exciting, though. One of the more exciting fights on the card. Next, we have John Castaneda versus Eddie Weinland. Yeah, so Weinland opened up minus 170. He's currently plus 110. I don't know. I mean, Weinland is definitely towards the end of his career. He's been in the game for a long time. He is 36 years old. He did get knocked out really badly in his last fight by Sean O'Malley. But just watching tape on Castaneda, yeah, not impressed in the slightest. And what I noticed, Castaneda in a lot of his fights, in the majority of his fights, he goes out there and he gets takedowns. He works that ground game. I don't know if that's going to be here against somebody in Eddie Weinland who has a very good takedown defense. Weinland, what he does is he engages in these wars, and I don't know if Castaneda really has that power to put out a guy like Weinland. I know Weinland's been knocked out 4 times, but prior to getting knocked out by O'Malley, he hadn't been finished since like 4 or 5 or 6 years since then. So it was a while since he was getting knocked out, but O'Malley did put him out. But think about it this way: like what would Sean O'Malley do to John Castaneda? I think Sean O'Malley would probably finish him like in the first couple rounds there, first round or something. So I do think that Eddie Weinland probably has a decent shot of winning. And if he does win, I think it could very well be by knockout here. So Eddie Weinland by knockout is plus 575, and I did take a little shot on that. And I'll tell you why. So Eddie Weinland, when he does win, it's been by knockout. Since 2012, he has not won a fight by decision or submission. It's all been by knockout. For like 8.5 years and 9 years, it's all been by knockout. So that comes for me to believe that if he wins this fight, it's probably going to be by knockout. John Castaneda has been knocked out before, and Weinland is sitting at plus 110. Don't really love that, but I don't mind the plus 575 for the knockout prop. So I did put 0.25 units on Eddie Weinland to win by TKO KO. Just a really small sprinkle there in a line that I do think is off, because I do think if Weinland wins, it is by knockout. But like I said, he's 36 years old. He is towards the end of his career. So I wouldn't be shocked if he lost, but I just thought that prop was off. Next, we got Drakkar Klose versus Luis Pena. Seeing the weigh-ins definitely gives me pause on the close side. I mean, Pena had a significant advantage in the height and the reach there, it looked like. But I'm going to stick with my close pick. Don't love it. The line is coming down a little bit. If anything, close by decision plus 120 is a little bit better. I see this going to the distance. Pena by decision I thought was interesting at plus 300. If you're on the Pena side, I don't hate that as well. But I'm going to slightly lean with Drakkar Klose. I do think it's going to be a very close fight. Both guys, pretty low volume. I think Klose is going to grind out this fight, get some takedowns here and there, and win a pretty close decision there. But yeah, I really don't want any action on it. Danny Chavez versus Jared Gordon. Yeah, it's a tough fight to call. If you guys watch my breakdowns, like I said, it's so hard to predict this fight because there's really not much info or tape out there on this Danny Chavez guy. I really wanted to see him, stuff some takedowns early against TJ Brown, but like I said, DJ Brown came into that fight with one of the worst game plans I've ever seen, was able to let Chavez basically tee off on him for a round and a half until he finally wanted to shoot for takedowns. But at that point, he was very compromised. He was hurt like 3 times. He got his legs kicked a ton. So, Jared Gordon's definitely going to test that. So the big thing here is Jared Gordon missed weight by a good 4 pounds. And I do think that definitely could help him here. And Jared Gordon looked pretty good on the scales, honestly. I think this could have been one of those instances where he maybe missed weight to gain an advantage because, that extra weight definitely could help. And his game plan is going to, clearly be go out here and take down Chavez, work that ground game. So, but definitely would not bet Chavez at minus 140. I am picking him to win just because Gordon has durability issues. He has been knocked out in all 4 of his losses. I was looking at Chavez by KO plus 245, but not a good enough line for me. I'm going to take Chavez to win, but I think Gordon's extremely live here. I really do. Tom Aspinall versus Andre Arlovski. I love Aspinall here. There's a lot of love on Arlovski. I can't say I get it, man. I mean, I like Aspinall. He's going to bring a ton of volume, and I've been breaking down this fight all week. I don't want to get into too much detail, but he's going to bring volume. He's going to bring power. Arlovski is somebody that, hasn't looked great as of late, but he's been getting wins. But in his last couple fights, he's been landing nothing. So Aspinall, all he has to do to win this fight is come out here and throw a decent amount of strikes. He doesn't have to worry about the power of Arlovski. Arlovski has been a decision machine. He hasn't had a knockout win in the last 17 fights, so don't really got to worry about the power. Come forward, and he probably gets a first-round knockout. Arlovski has been knocked out 11 times. But yeah, I just think there's an instance where it's a lot of recency bias. I mean, he was able to go out there and get a win over Tanner Boser in a fight where Boser outlanded him 2-1, not 2-1, like more than 2-1. In a fight where Arlovski landed literally 33 significant strikes, and he won the fight. And then against Philippe Lin, same thing, and he landed 50 significant strikes, got the win. So all Aspinall has to do is throw volume. You're going to win the fight. But I do think he knocks him out. So give me Aspinall here. I honestly think the line's generous, minus 240. I really do think it's generous, and I do think he'll look like a bigger favorite. He could make me eat my words, but I don't see that. I like Aspinall here, and that is going to close out the parlay. So I do have Aspinall to win, parlayed with Spivak to win. I got it at minus 104, 1.5 units on it. Aspinall is probably my second favorite or second most confident pick on the card. I might be looking at playing Aspinall either in round 1 or by knockouts plus 100, which is not bad. I might be looking at that. I've not pulled the trigger yet, but I really do want to put a little bit more on Aspinall here. Phil Haas versus Nasser Imov. So this fight was supposed to happen about a month ago or close to it. I had a bet on Imov, but it was a plus 150, plus 160. Definitely not touching it here at plus 105. If you're on the Haas side, it's pretty clear. Bet that first round prop. If you're on the Imov side, it's pretty clear. Maybe bet the second round prop, the third round prop, or maybe a decision. But Haas is somebody that it seems like he's first round, or if he does not get that finish in the first round, he slows down. In all of his fights, he has 7 wins in the first round, 2 in the second round, and those 2 that came in the second round were very early in the second round, and he's never seen the scorecards. So I do think that the fight doesn't go to decision could be a very good parlay piece. I do think it's going to be action-packed for as long as it lasts. So the picks of Imov, I don't love it. I really don't. The dude's very hittable, and Haas is going to, bring it to him, and he's going to bring it to him early. But I do expect him to survive that early storm and take over as of late, or take over late and get the finish late in the fight. But it's going to be way too sketchy, especially to pull the trigger at a plus 100. At a plus 150, plus 160, then we'd be talking, because I do think this fight's really 50-50. But at plus 105, I'm definitely passing here. But I will stick with Imov. Just don't love it. Chris Dawkis versus Alexi Olynyk. I do have a bet in this fight. I have the under 1.5 rounds, minus 150. I have 1.5 units on it. And yeah, I mean, instead of picking a side here, really, I want to bet the under here. So I think it can go one of 2 ways. Either Dawkis is going to come out here, get an early knockout, or Olynyk can come out here, close the distance, whether it's pulling guard or dragging Dawkis down to the mat. He probably gets a submission. I really see it going only those 2 ways. I could be kind of shocked if this did go into the second round, but even then we saw Olynyk get into the second round in the Lewis fight, and he had nothing. He had absolutely nothing. The very first couple shots that Derrick Lewis landed, Olynyk folded. I could see a situation where that happens, but ultimately, if Chris Dawkis comes out here like he did in the last fight against Nascimento, throws caution to the wind in those first 60 seconds, I do think he gets a finish here. But, Olynyk's a vet. I mean, he's 43 years old, has 75, 76 fights. He's definitely live, but instead of betting a side, especially at the minus 190 for Dawkis, I'd probably just play the under at minus 150 there. All right, next we have Charles Rosa versus Derrick Mender. Another case where I do like the fight, doesn't go to decision. I I don't love the price for it, minus 265, but I do think it hits. Derrick Mender is one of those killer be killed fighters. He has a 92% finish rate, 88% by submission, 92% overall, and he's been finished in 10 out of 11 losses, 8 coming by submission. So if Mender's not able to get that first round sub, and trust me, he's going to be trying to get it, then he probably loses, and Rosa probably gets a submission there. So I think Mender in the first round is not a bad look. The majority of his fights that he's won have came in the first round. And if you are on the Rosa side, you're going to be sweating. You're going to be sweating that first round. Mender's going to, I can guarantee you, get Rosa into a ton of bad positions. But, seeing Rosa being able to fight out of the Bryce Mitchell submissions, he was also able to go out there and submit Bermuda as a pretty high-level black belt. I think he'll be fine, but it's going to be a very sweaty first round. So I'm going to take Rosa. I think I'll throw maybe the Rosa Mender fight doesn't go to decision into like a Hail Mary parlay. I do like that. I was looking at the under as well, but the under got slammed all week, so really missed out on that line. But give me Charles Rosa for the win to get the win in like the second or third round. But ultimately, I do like the fight doesn't go to decision line there a lot. Just didn't play it officially. But I can tell you it's going to be in my Hail Mary parlay. All right, Ketlen Vieira versus Yana Kunitskaya. Don't want to talk about this too much. Vieira did not look great on the skills, to say the least. She did miss weight by 2 pounds. She looked very, very sluggish. I did bet her earlier in the week to win by submission. Just a really small poke here. 0.25 units to win by submission. Vieira has a very good ground game, a very good wrestling game, very good takedowns as well. Black belt and BJJ. Yana has struggled with the ground game in the past. She's a 30% takedown defense, and she has been subbed twice as well. So if Vieira does get this fight down to the mat, I think the submission is very live. And instead of paying the, minus 255 or minus 260 or whatever it is on Vieira, I'll just take a small stab on that plus 400 by submission. I do think it's live, but yeah, I will say she did not look great at weigh-ins at all. So the best thing to do would definitely be passing on this fight. Not the best co-main event in the world, but I'm gonna take Vieira, still stick with my pick, but just got to mention that she did not look great at weigh-ins. All right, and then finally, the main event, we have Curtis Blaydes versus Derrick Lewis. I like Curtis Blaydes here. I like him a ton. I'm not going to get into much of the details I've talked about all week. Fantastic stylistic matchup for Curtis Blaydes here. And this is going to be my biggest play of the night. I do have Curtis Blaydes to win inside the distance at minus 175. I have 2.5 units on it. I like Blaydes here to win. He is going to be in my Hail Mary parlay as well. And yeah, Derrick Lewis is going to really struggle with the takedowns. Obviously, I think Blaydes is going to probably get like 10 plus takedowns all the way up until Lewis just can't. He's going to cover up. More than likely, he's probably going to gas out. I know people were talking about Blaydes gassing out in the Volkov fight, but going back and watching that fight, it was really nice to see him still get those takedowns in those 4th and 5th rounds. I think that's huge. And obviously, Blaydes is going to have a massive cardio advantage. Blaydes actually has like one of the best cardios in the UFC division. And I think Lewis is going to get very tired here. He's going to have to expend a ton of energy to get up, and he's going to have to get up a ton if he does choose to do so. And off his back, he has nothing. He has nothing to offer off his back. So I do think Blaydes is going to win with some ground and pound, probably 3rd or 4th round. And like I said, I did hammer that. I did hammer him to win inside the distance. So just going to quickly recap the bets. Like I said, I was supposed to have 6, but now I have 5. The parlay. Tom Aspinall to win, parlayed with Sergey Spivak to win, minus 104, 1.5 units on it. Weinland to win by TKO KO, 0.25 units, small sprinkle, plus 550. The under 1.5 rounds on Olynyk and Dawkis, minus 150, 1.5 units on it. Curtis Blaydes to win inside the distance, minus 175, 2.5 units on it. And then a small stab on the Ketlen Vieira, wins by submission, plus 400, 0.25 units on it. Like I said, I haven't pulled the trigger on these other spots yet, but really was taking a look at the Rosa Mender fight doesn't go to decision. We'll probably throw that into my Hail Mary parlay. Then the Haas Imov fight doesn't go to decision. We'll probably throw that into my Hail Mary parlay. Was really looking at Tom Aspinall round 1. Was really looking at Tom Aspinall by KO. I might add one of those two. Other than that, I think the under 2.5 on the Spivak and Dara is not an awful look. They're two heavyweight, small cage finishers. So under 2.5 at plus money, that might be something I pull the trigger on. But, stay tuned to the Twitter, stay tuned to the Instagram. Twitter is, like I said, DFS_numbers, and Instagram is DFS by the numbers. If you guys have any questions, you can hit me up anytime. My DMs are always open. I'm always down to chat some fights with you guys. And yeah, really looking forward to this card, 14 fight card. It's going to be a long day. It's going to be a long night, but yeah, definitely worth it. Lots of great fights on this card. We got the small cage. I feel like there's going to be a ton of finishes. And yeah, just ready to make some money. So that's about it, guys. Good luck. Just like I said, if you can leave a like on this video, it would help out a ton. Subscribe if you have not yet. Again, it would help out a ton. Trying to reach that 10K goal, hopefully by March 6th. We have a couple weeks to do it. So that's about it, guys, and good luck on Saturday.